Aloha and welcome to the KupunaWiki radio show, and Happy New Year. This month we are kicking it off with a topic of real estate, and who better to have in the studio but ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors. KupunaWiki is Hawaii's senior resource. We talk to the best local professionals in the state regarding topics such as real estate, senior housing, estate planning, finance, and health, so that our Kupuna families can find the best resources in the midst of a life transition. We strive to make sure our seniors are informed and supported every step of the way. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brandon Lau.
And I'm Andrew Leong,
your host for the KupunaWiki radio show.
Our title sponsor for today is ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors, providing you the best real estate information so you can make the most informed decisions. As they like to say, real estate is about choice. To contact them, call 753-9033.
And now we have our real estate tip of the week brought to you by ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors.
Buying your first home is a big step, and making mistakes can cost you thousands of dollars. Here are 3 you should avoid. Number 1, not having a professional home inspection. Review the report carefully so you don't buy a home with serious issues such as settlement, mold, or water damage. Number 2, not doing a final walkthrough before closing. Visit the property after all furnishings have been removed so you won't have any surprises later. And number 3, understanding the contract. A realtor who serves as your buyer's representative will help you understand your responsibilities and guide you through the process.
For more information regarding buying your first home, contact ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors at 753-9033. Well, in studio we have ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors, which is comprised of myself, Brandon Lau, Andrew Leong, and also Chad Atkins. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Great to be here.
Yes.
Now, Chad, I think our listeners know a little bit about Andrew and I, but they haven't heard from you so far. So maybe you can give us a little of your background and your experience within the real estate field.
Well, I was born in Apple Valley, California. It's a small town in the high desert of Southern California. And I remember when I was 19, I was with my buddy. His name was Chad, too. And we were looking into getting our real estate licenses, and it just never happened. So years later, I joined the Air Force, and here I am in Hawaii. And I was working with a parking contractor, and I had a taste of commercial real estate. I was working with a bunch of folks.
Right.
And somehow I just had a desire to work with people on the sales side, doing residential. The commercial didn't appeal to me too much, but I had that taste of that. So now I really enjoy working with people, and the journey of selling or buying a home, whether it's the first time or many times, can be emotional, can be quite a journey for folks. So I do my best to bring to the table to make that relationship true and strong. So during that journey, when I can be there, to support the folks that I'm working with. And a lot of times it can be tough. But
right.
Again, as we are Choice Advisors, we have to keep reminding them of their options, educating them, make sure they stay on the right path. And that's what I enjoy doing, just the satisfaction of seeing people, basically buying or selling the greatest asset that they will in their life.
That was well said, Chad. And I like when you said, you were understanding commercial real estate, but then at some point you realized that you wanted to service people. And, that's really what real estate and residential real estate is all about. Although we do help people get into properties, it really starts with the person themselves.
Yes.
And understanding their goals and their needs and how we can assist them in that process. Now, Andrew, we've heard you do real estate tips week after week, month after month, but maybe you can share a little bit about your background in real estate.
Yeah, well, I've been in the industry been in business for over a decade, so it's a long time. And I've been through, I think, a complete cycle, I guess, so far. Yeah. So I started off in 2008, 2009, and again, that was the recession, so that was the toughest time, right? But worked through it and gone through the highs, which we are in. So have learned a lot, and so which is why I'm able to do these real estate tips. But started off my background is actually in hospitality, food and beverage, and coming out of college, took a dip into real estate and actually enjoy it. It's the same as hospitality. You're you're dealing with, you're interacting with a lot of people, and I like that. I enjoy that, and so I think it was a perfect fit for me. Real estate had always been something I've always been fascinated with. Looking at design, architecture, and so that kind of piqued my interest, and actually getting in, bought my first home, and then becoming an investor. Right, you start with the first one, you get that itch, you get that taste, and then you jump into the next one and the next one. Right, so I loved it, and I don't think I'd be able to do anything else.
Yeah. And talking about itch, I feel so sorry for my wife because we've moved over 10 times in the last 10 years. And that's what you get being married to a realtor.
Yeah.
But you see opportunities, and of course, we better than anybody else, we know what the needs require for our families, and so when an opportunity arises, you can move in that direction.
I mean, you folks moved more than 10 times in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you've been in business longer than that.
No, I've been practicing real estate for 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right out of college, finance degree, and at the time they had just gotten over the .com bubble, so nobody was really hiring in the finance department, and I saw real estate as a great way to service people. Of course, in Hawaii, the INA is so important, and I wanted to be a part of that. So real estate has been a great industry, and I love it. I can't imagine doing anything different. Yeah. Well, that's enough about us. I wanted to jump into a little bit of, what people may be thinking about as they start the year with regard to real estate. And I think one of the big questions everybody has is, well, how's the market, right? Just to rattle off some stats, although we're just winding down the year here, it turns out that we're pretty much even throughout the state for single-family home sales. I mean, it says here overall, between all the major islands, we've had a decline in single-family sales of 1.5%, which is pretty much even. You had a slight uptick in the Big Island, negative 2% in Kauai, negative 2% in Maui, and positive 2% in Oahu. But for the most part, sales of single-family have been even. Condominium-wise, for the overall total sales throughout the islands, it's negative 4.5%. So that's taken a little bit of a dip. And median prices for single-family homes on Oahu, pretty much the same at about $785,000 right now. And for median home sale price, condo prices, it's $425,000. So pretty much exactly the same as we were last year. Yeah. And I don't know what you would think about this, Andrew, but it seems like we have reached, as you mentioned, the peak of the market. And so that's really factoring into how people are making decisions and planning for either the immediate future or several years down the road. What have you seen so far?
I definitely have seen a slowdown. I think as for sellers, they are deciding, right? Everyone wants to know. Okay, they want to time it right. I want to time it at the peak. Well, it's about that time, right? And so we're at that point where, as a seller, I highly recommend they get in the market now. And I think what's keeping the market going is the rates. The rates have been staying steady.
Very good.
Yeah. And so under 4, right? So right now, I think that's what's kind of giving that little gas, that last bit of gas for the market. The buyers are out there looking. They can be a little bit more picky because inventory has gone up.
Right.
And so, but I think it's a good blend right now for both buyers and sellers. Buyers with the low rates, sellers, they're getting the best price, the max price that they can get. Versus if they were to wait a few years down the line, they may not get where they
better of a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's fair to say, although awkward to say, that it's a good market for both buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Right. Chad, I know you've had a situation with a home seller where, yes, it's a good time, and we want this person to move forward, but circumstances have not allowed her to do so. I don't know if you can share sometimes how circumstances may dictate timing more so than just the market.
Yeah, a lot of times the properties are old and they need some tender loving care and some maintenance, preventive maintenance. And concrete spalling is one of those, and a lot of times that comes up, and it's it's a big bite into the, whatever the assessment may be. And sometimes if you're, like the folks that we're working with, we're going to, they were thinking about selling, and the assessment came up and it kind of changed things, and well, we got to do this and we got to do that. So what happens is maybe the value is up there, but then as time goes on, it may change. So there's a lot of decisions to be made, but as long as we can educate them and make sure they're making the right decision, and sometimes you may, time may cause that value to come down.
Yeah. And as much as we'd like them to move forward, ultimately it is the client's decision.
Yeah.
All we do is we help them to make the best choice by giving them the right information. Well, I want to hear more about how we can advise our clients in this changing market. Before we do that, we'll have a quick commercial break. If you're just joining us, we have ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors in the studio, and we're talking about real estate. And in the first segment, we were just touching upon where we are in the market, the fact that we are in a transitional part of the real estate cycle, with positive things being for sellers, the fact that prices are at the top, and buyers are looking at very good interest rates at sub 4%, which is making it good for them as buyers. So Andrew, if we're looking just at the seller's side, what are some tips that we can provide them in this market?
Well, for sellers, I think now, when they're looking to put their home on the market, they have to put their eyes in, put themselves in the buyer's eyes, right? Knowing, and I said earlier that inventory has picked up a little bit, so there's a lot more competition, right? And so how do they make their home stand out, right? When you enter a home, things that attract the buyers are kitchen, bath, right? Are typically the two common areas that attract them the most. So definitely doing some updates there would help, right? Help them stand out from the rest. Obviously, a fresh coat of paint definitely does wonders, right? So the minor things, that are cost effective and actually has a great return will definitely help sellers, stand out and get the best value.
Right. A lot of times sellers have this idea that once they hire a realtor, they can get on the market, they want it sold and move on, but it's not always that quick.
No, there's prep work that goes into it.
What would you say? You mentioned some of the things as far as preparing the kitchen or the baths, maybe doing some repair work. What kind of time frame would you say is required to account for some of these things, in terms of weeks, perhaps?
Well, I would say, first of all, they need to know what are their plans after they sell, right? Do they need to find someplace else? Do they already have a place to go? And so that will dictate, the timing, right? But if everything's all set, they already have a replacement property, prepping the home for, to market, I would say, 2-3 weeks for, on average. It shouldn't take too long unless you're doing major improvements. If it's just cosmetic things, 2 to 3 weeks should be enough time.
A lot of times, with some of the clients I assist, if it's a single family home and they have to do things like painting the whole exterior or changing out gutters or landscaping work, that actually can take maybe a month.
Yeah, that could take more
maybe
more
longer.
Time.
Yeah. So, and that's why it's a good idea if you are a seller and you're interested in selling your property, don't wait to call a realtor. Call them now, have that consultation so that the realtor can then give you a timeline of all the things that you need to do to prepare the home, and which they're going to help you to coordinate. Because that's another job of a realtor. They're not just going to stick the sign in the yard, but they're going to help to coordinate the whole thing, kind of like that conductor in a symphony. Make sure all the moving parts are taken care of, so that at the end you have a great crescendo with the showing and sale of the property.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So home selling takes some time, takes planning, and takes the expertise of a realtor to help you. Right. What are some things that maybe sellers are encountering as challenges, maybe throughout the sale process or escrow? What do you think?
Some of your common things that sellers come across. In an older home, a lot of the homes nowadays, were built, in the 80s, right? 70s, 80s, and so there's a lot of things that may need updating, right? So like electrical
Mhm.
is a big one, plumbing.
Right.
So some of the common things are, they may come across are those items, right? Back then it was like, for example, electrical. There's a lot of double taps, right? And that's common. That was okay
Yeah.
back then, right? But today's code, it's something that the inspector is going to point out. So those are some minor things that you're going to come across. If you're looking at condo, I mean, there's not a whole lot of issues, with condos. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's a unit, right? So I think as long as you take those preventative measures, over time, I think as long as you maintain the home
Right.
properly, you shouldn't encounter a whole lot of issues.
Right. I mean, I've had properties this past year where they're built pre-1950s, and you had knob and tube wiring.
Yes.
Still
Yeah.
powering the
Yeah.
home,
Right.
But again, if you want to sell it and the buyers are concerned about getting insurance for the property, these are things that may have to be upgraded.
Yeah.
Just to have the home insured.
Right.
So on the buy side, we talked about the fact that interest rates are great, sub 4%.
Mhm.
I mean, who would have thought they've been around at this level for this long?
I know, right?
Now, Chad, I know you work with buyers, and sometimes buyers these days they might take a while to move forward, either because they're waiting for the market to quote drop, or they're just not motivated. What are some things that you see with buyers, and why would it be a good time to move forward right now?
Well, a lot of times, folks, they might not find the place that they really want. I mean, if the inventory is not out there,
Yeah.
and it does take some time. And then, like we were saying before, the market might shift a little bit.
Right.
And so they have to, really think that through and be okay with, with whatever's out there.
Right.
Or wait. That's a risk that they take. But as we were kind of talking about before, is a lot of times when the number of sales in the market decrease, the trend shows that the prices sort of come
Should
down as well.
soften, right.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of burden on the buyers to make that decision if they can't find something that they like or is perfect, because it is a big decision. It's a big asset that they're going into. So I think it's just basically for us, me being there to support them, making sure that they're aware of all the options that they have and the education that needs to be there.
Right.
And that's what we can do our best to inform and advise our clients.
Right. And it's so interesting, if you look at the historical trend of housing prices, if you stretch it out over the past 40 years, on average, we've had an appreciation rate of roughly 5 to 6%, which is not bad. And, that's regardless of whether or not you bought in the quote high or low of the cycle. So even if a person did buy now, and, we thought it may get a little soft in the coming year or so, when you stretch it out over the course of the next cycle, which is 7-10 years, it's probably going to be higher than it is now.
Yep.
Right. So, I guess if you're trying to time the market, there's never the best time.
Yep.
The main thing is if you are able to own real estate, then you'll be able to benefit from that appreciation.
Right.
Right.
For sure.
Now, there's people out there who are, they're fortunate enough that they have enough assets to invest. They may already have investment property, and so they're trying to figure out, well, what are the best things for me to consider in this market? Andrew, what are some thoughts you have on investors right now?
For investors, if they're looking to upgrade their investments, right? Say, for example, they have maybe a couple condos, right, that they picked up. Now's a good time to upgrade those. Sell those, do an exchange into a single family, right? So there are some options. Or if they wanted to, maybe they have the single family investments and looking to divvy that up to their children. So maybe sell those single family and pick up a couple of condos, and then of course then you can pass it along to the kids. I mean, there are options out there. So I think it's important that they sit with the realtor to kind of go over these options for them and see what best fits for them.
Now, you mentioned the word exchange. Sounds like it's more than just a casual term, but it's something that's a little more technical.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So a 1031 exchange is where the investment property, after being sold, they are deferring the taxes on the gain to another property that they're going to purchase. So rather than getting hit on the tax when they sell that property, they're deferring that gain into another property. So they're basically rolling it over and not having to pay the gain, the tax on the gain.
And there's certain rules to adhere to, right? For example, being able to identify a replacement property as an investment within 45 days from the closing of that relinquished investment, and closing in 180 days.
Yes.
So of course, we're not CPAs and we're not attorneys, but this is just basic information that somebody can research online.
Correct.
About 1031 exchanges.
Yes.
Well, investing is such a huge part of how you create wealth, and especially in Hawaii, Chad. The prices of homes, as you mentioned, have gone up roughly 5 to 6% every year if you have that straight line appreciation, which is incredible. I remember my grandparents purchased their lot in Nu'uanu as a vacant lot, and I think she bought it for like $15,000.
Wow.
My grandmother. They built the house, I think, with some city mill lumber, and now it's close to $1 million. So it's just incredible how investment property can appreciate over time and really change your retirement planning, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that you have this accumulated wealth. What are your thoughts, Chad, as far as investing in real estate? Do you think it's a safe investment or risky? What are your thoughts?
Well, it comes down to what you got to sit down with your realtor and work out a master plan when you're talking about investing. And a lot of times, whatever property you might pick up, say for instance a condo, I've had clients that buy into a condo that looks great, and then we run into some problems because assessments come up. And then, that kind of changes the cash flow based on that. But, it just depends on what will happen.
Right. And I think in general, real estate is a little more stable than other investments because it's predictable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the market being a 7 to 10 year cycle. It's not rocket science. And fortunately, it doesn't turn on the dime like, stock market might, in case there's some bad news in the economy. Prices don't change that quickly.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, I think it's a little easier to invest in real estate. You can sleep better at night, right?
Exactly.
And then knowing in the long run that is going to have that nice appreciation.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we like to do at ChaneyBrooks Choice Advisors is we like to have what we call an annual portfolio review. Similar to what you'd have with a financial advisor or some other financial planner, we like to give our clients and customers the benefit of knowing what the current position of their real estate assets are and how they can make decisions either next year, in the next 5 or 10 years to put themselves